today we will talk about Hyperion Essbase admin related task. Okay, so far we have discussed about applications and the database design. Okay, and we know how
Okay.
to load the data, how to import that metadata, and also we discussed about all the calculation scripts. Okay,
Okay.
okay. So, and also we do some admin related tasks like uh, for example, you are running something on the airspace. Okay, if you want to monitor the sessions, okay, so few users started you running that calculation script, or they are if they are doing some data retrieval from the smart view. Okay, if you want to monitor their session, you can use the airspace session. Okay, just go to Space server and right click on that. There you can see the option edit option. Under the edit you'll be seeing properties, session, logs, logged object, variables, macros and functions. Okay. Macros and functions mostly we don't use that. Okay. We can use some user defined functions or macros which will be used in the calculation script or in the reporting side. Okay.
Okay.
So you have to right click on the server and go to edit properties or the sessions. Okay. If
Mhm.
you click on properties, you'll be able to see the space properties. Okay. And so just click on the sessions. Okay. So under the sessions, you will be seeing the all that process. So just I open my session, I'm able to see many users. Okay, connected into the application. Here you can see the application details and the database details, and also the connection time. Okay, and if they are running the calculation script, here you can see the calculation script is running or something you can see, and the right side you can see that progress. It says in progress, completed, or if it is failed, it shows failed message. And if you want to kill any specific session, right? So in the top of the session, you will be seeing that drop down list. From the drop down list, you go to select the option called kill. Okay, so it will kill that current process. Okay,
Current user session, basically, correct?
it's how you select that option. If you want to uh, cancel any admin task or space the process, okay, then you go to select the appropriate session and select kill, and then you can apply. Okay, it will kill that specific session. The based on
Okay.
our selection, it will kill that. Okay, not the current process. You go to if you want to kill the current process, just you go to select that specific task and you go to kill that.
Okay.
Okay.
So when I'm looking at this one, how do I know that whether this is connected or this is completed or this is a old? Is this showing the old session too?
Yes, it's showing the old session as well. But here we go that uh, request status. The right side, if you see right here, you can
Okay.
see the status. It says
Okay.
in progress. Okay. So based on this, you can identify the process running or it's completed or it's failed. You go to very check the status in the right side. If it is completed, it says completed.
Okay.
Okay, and also you can kill that session or you can log off any users. Okay, log off means just you can log out the user from the application. That's also possible. Okay. And so whenever you run something on the application or that database set, you can check the session under that space systems. Okay, and if you are going to kill something, you have to be very careful. If it is that database is very huge, it will take a lot of time to complete the process. Okay, sometimes it will corrupt the application if the application may become abnormal. Okay, so better to wait for some time, or maybe you can stop or and start the applications. Okay, there are a lot of options, so we have to be very careful when we do kill session or something. Okay. And the next one, so here we were seeing sessions, logs, logged object, variables. Okay. For example, I have opened one calculator script. Okay, that script can be can be opened in the read mode, and also we can open it at the write mode. Okay, just I can, if I want to just view the script, just I will open the read mode. Okay, I don't change anything in the calculus script. Okay. And if I want to update the calculus script, or if I want to update any artifact like rule files or outline, just I will open it in write mode. Okay. If you opening that any specific application at that write mode, or it will lock the object. Okay, that meaning the other users cannot open that specific script in the write mode. So for example, I'm just trying to open the outline in that edit mode. Okay.
Mhm.
So it says the outline is locked by that admin user. So other users cannot access the outline. They can open the outline in the read mode, but they cannot do any changes in the outline if it is locked by some other. And if you want to update something, okay, but some other user is already locked the object, okay. So maybe you can check with the user and you can unlock that the specific artifact. Okay. So
Okay.
just you go to edit and select the lock the object. From there you can unlock the objects. And in variables, I think already we discussed about the variable. Just you can go to the variable, you can update the variable value. Okay. So that one is easy. And yeah, that's it. Okay. So here we go the option to stop and start the space server. Okay. And also you can generate a log charts or view the space log. And this is a location for the space configuration file. Okay, just you go to the home directory of the Hyperion folder, and under the space server bin folder, you will be seeing the space configuration file. So this is how the space configuration file looks like. Okay. If you want, for example, you are working on the smart view. Okay. You go set that point of view for many members. Okay, there are more than 1,000 entity members or more than 1,000 account members. When you do that retrieval, right, sometime it will take a very long time. Okay, it will take more time. Like maybe it will take around 5 minutes or something more than 5 minutes if the application very huge. Okay, that time it will throw error like timeout issues. Okay, so if you are facing the timeout issue, then you have to increase that the session timeout parameters. Okay, by default it's set to 1,000 or some seconds. Okay, so that should be increased. Maybe by using that space configuration file, we can set the parameter for that session timeout. Here it's not included, but if you want to increase that session timeout, then you go to get that command and add it in the FS configuration file. Okay. So we go to refer the Oracle documentation. There they will be they have given some recommended values for the session timeout. Okay. So based on that, we go to set the value. And the next one, I think we already discussed about this. Okay. If we want to clear the data, okay, just right click on the database and go just click on clear option. There you will be seeing that all the option to clear the data from database. Okay. So if you select that all data, it will clear the entire data from the database. Okay. For example, you want to re-import the data to a database. First, we will do the export from the database, maybe the level 0 export or the all data export. Okay. This will export all the data into some text file, and after that we will be re-importing into the database. Okay. So for example, I have already exported the data from the database. Now I will clear the existing data from the database. Okay, using the clear option, just I can clear the entire data. Okay, or if I want to clear only the aggregated data, just I will select upper level blocks. Okay, for example, I want to update one dense member under that dimension. Okay, account or year or some other members created as dense dimension, and I want to add one specific member to that dense dimension. For example, I have account hierarchy here. Okay, here we go balance sheet. Okay, so under the balance sheet we go. I want to add some member called one. Or I want to add one specific entity. Okay, Already we got
Mhm.
many members under the balance sheet, but I want to add one specific member, the new member that should be added to the balance sheet. Okay. But the problem is already I have 50 GB of data or in that application. Okay. The application is very huge and it takes very long time for the data load, and also it takes very long time for the calculation, aggregation. Okay. So if you add this number to that existing cube, right, and it will do the dense restructure. Okay. If you are making any changes in that dense dimension, it will do the dense restructure. So dense restructure will recreate or it will create the data blocks, and also it will recreate that index file for each data block. Okay. So if it is 50 GB, it will be creating the temporary files. Okay. And it will take around 1 or 2 hours to complete the restructure. Okay, sometime if there is no memory or disk space is not available in the server, then it will corrupt the application, or that application become abnormal. Okay, to resolve that problem, usually we export the data from the application. Okay, we just export all data export to some text file.
Mhm.
Okay, and after that we clear the data from the existing applications. Clear all data.
Okay.
Okay, and after that we will be adding that member to that balance sheet hierarchy. We will be adding that
Okay.
new member. Okay,
Okay.
and after that we will be importing the same data, that whatever we exported from the application, right, that data will be imported into that the same application. Okay, and after that I will clear the data, the entire data from the application, and and once the data is cleared, I will be changing the outline. It may be either adding member or deleting the member, okay, whatever it may be. And once
Okay.
it's done, I will import the data. It may be all data or only that level 0 data. Okay. If you are importing only that level 0 data, you need to perform the aggregation. Okay. But if you are doing that all data import, then you don't need to run any aggregation. So it depends on that task you're going to perform, or that it's based on the business requirement. Okay, usually we do level 0 export from the queue and do that updates on that queue, and after that we will be importing the level 0 data and doing aggregations. Okay, so this is the optimal way of doing. And in the database we got the option to clear the data, and also we can write the calculation script to clear the data. Okay, so it will when you do that data export, right, it will store all the files in that the existing Hyperion folder. Maybe it's under a space app. We have the app folder, right? So all the
Mhm.
exported files will be stored in the app folder. Okay, in the server side, not in the local list.
Okay.
Okay, so and also if you want to see that how many users are created in a space and how many users are active, okay, if you want to see that the user security details, you can see it under security users options. Okay, just right click on the users and you can fetch all that user details, and also you can see the groups, and if there is any disabled username, you can see it here. Okay. So the another option, we'll be using the shared services. Okay, in the shared services we'll be creating all that users and groups. Okay, you can add new user and assign groups or roles in that user security. Okay,
Okay.
mostly we don't do it anything through the space console for the user security. Everything done it through the shared services. Okay, and these are the space executable files. Okay, if you open that task manager in the Windows server, right, the space server, you will be seeing all this process. Space.exe file is for that space server agent. Okay, and ESS SVR, ESS SVR.exe is for the application process. So whenever you start any application, right, it will create one ESS SVR.exe file. Okay, and for the database. No, I think for the database, it won't create any process. It will create only for the application. Okay. So, for example, you are working on the one data load activity or something, but the application is not responding. Okay. So the first you know to stop, you try to stop the application. Okay. If it is not stopping and is still occupying that memory in that SP server. Okay. So you go to open that task manager and you go to manually kill that ESSF your .exe file. Okay. So once it's stopped and you can manually start that application through the ESS console. Usually, if this issue happens because of the disk, the RAM issues. Okay, if it's occupied that more RAM, then it will hang that entire process. And if you are opening the Maxwell shell prompt, it will create ESSMSH.exe file. This is for the ESSCMD process command client interface. Okay, and this is for that admin server services, admin sphere.exe file for that space admin services. So if you look at that console, right, in the first view, you are seeing administrator servers, right? So there you will be seeing that administrator server related details. Okay. When you start that admin services, it will create admin sphere.exe file. Okay. And admin console.patch file. This is for admin space console EAS. Okay. So these are the very important space executable files, and these are the space log files. I think we already discussed here. Uh, we have the location for each log files. Okay, space server log, application log, query log, outline logs, exception logs. Okay, you can refer this slide. We already discussed about restructure, right? So we got two types of restructure. One is implicit restructures, and another one is explicit restructure. So explicit means already we discussed about it. You remember, or like we can just right click on the database. So there you will be seeing the option to restructure that entire database. Okay. So if there is any empty data block or empty space in that application, it will clear that empty block. Okay. And it will recreate that data block. Okay. So that is we called as explicit restructure. So just we can manually initiate the restructure by right clicking on the database and we can do that. Okay. So it will do that full restructure of the database. Okay. It removes that empty block from the database. And another one implicit restructure. Okay. So whenever we change anything in that space outline, it will do that implicit restructure. We got three types of restructuring. The first one is dense restructure, sparse restructure, and another one is outline only restructure. Okay. So in the outline, suppose I am adding one new member to the dense member. Okay. If we do that, it will do that dense restructure. Okay. So during that dense restructure, it will recreate that index. Okay, index file. It will recreate the index file, and also if there is any new member or you are deleting something from that member, it will recreate that data block. Okay, but it won't remove any data block, but it will just recreate that block, or it will create new data files for that new members. Okay, so mostly it will recreate that index file for that entire data block. Okay, so that's we call it as dense restructure. So the another one is sparse restructure. If you are making any changes to that sparse members, maybe entity members or the profit center, cost center. Okay. So if you make any changes to the sparse member, then it will do that sparse restructure. Usually, if you are doing the dense restructuring, it will take lots of time because it will create temporary files, temporary index files. Okay. If you have the 50 GB of data, and it will create 50 GB of temporary file. Okay. For each and every index file and page file, it will create one temporary files. Okay. So that's why it's taking a lot of time. And but in that spots basically it won't create any temporary files, just it will recreate only that it will create only new index files. Okay, it won't do anything with the data block. Just it will create new index file, or maybe it will recreate that index file. Okay, so it won't take much time. And also we can, if you want to take the backup of that application, right? One way, just we can have the backup of OTL file, the outline file. Okay, you can open the outline file. Okay, and you can save as just you can rename the file in that uh, folder, or you can save as with some other name. Okay, so that is one way of doing that outline
Mm.
backup. And
Okay.
another way is you can go to the server and you can have the copy of that app folder, the specific application folder. Just you can stop if you are doing any copy of the application folder, right? You go to stop the application first, and after that you can do that application folder copy. Okay. Here I have that console. This is that application folder for console queue. Okay. If I want to take the backup of that folder, just I can copy it and paste it somewhere for the backup. Okay, if you but before doing this activity, you go to stop that application and the database. Just you can make the copy and paste it somewhere. This is one of the way. The another way, just you can directly do it in the console. Okay, just you can right click on the application. You can take the copy of the existing application. Okay, so that is another way.
Oh,
Mostly, you can check it in that server directory. Okay, and also you can monitor the CPU. Okay, how many processes are running, and how, and also you can check that RAM size available. Okay, and if you are making any changes to that member properties, or you are renaming that member name or the alias name, it will do that outline only restructure. Okay. So if you are doing any minor changes, it won't recreate or it won't touch that index file or the database data
okay.
files. Okay. Just it will
Okay.
change that properties. That's it. For this one, usually take it's based on the data files. It will take time. Okay. Um, if it is 10 GB, it will take around 15 minutes or something. If you have 50 GB of data, it will take 1 hour or something. Okay. And for sparse restructure, it won't take much time. Within 1 minute, it will complete. Okay. 1 or 2 minutes. And outline only restructure, it won't take much time. Within 10 seconds, it will complete. And for example, you are doing the restructure. If the test restructure is failed for some reason, okay, so you can recover it that application from by restarting the application and database. Okay, so before you are doing the restructuring, you have to delete that temporary files. Okay, I told you, right, it will create that temporary files while you are doing the cadence restructure. Okay, if the process is failed, you go to clear that temporary files from the server folder, and you go to redo that. And if it is sparse restructure is failed, then you have to restart that application database. Okay, so that's it. And here we go that some naming conventions. Okay, if you're naming application or the database, you should not use any keywords. Okay, the space keywords. Like in the calculations function, we have a lot of functions and command, right? So those names should not be used to name the application or the database. And also it should have only the 80 bytes. Okay, it
Uh,
supports up to only the 8 characters, I think. If you're naming the calculus script or rule file or application file, right, it should have only the 8 characters. You should not have more than 8 characters. Okay, and in Windows Server, that names are not case sensitive. Okay, but you can enable case sensitive options in Airspace. And if you are working on the Linux bot, then all the names are case sensitive. Okay. And these are the special characters. These characters should not be used to name the any member or the application name. Okay. Oh, you cannot use more than 8 bytes to name the
okay.
application. Okay. And you cannot use any space or special characters. Let's talk about data integrity. Okay. So What is transaction? If you're doing anything on the test space, like you are running some calculation or you are performing the data load or something, that process is called as transaction. Okay, and here we go on concept called isolation levels. Okay, so for example, I am doing the data load or calculation, or I am doing calculation or something. Okay, I am completed with the data load. Okay, um, or, or the data load is in progress. Okay, so in the same time, one of the user connected to the Essbase application and they are trying to access that same point of view which I am trying to load. That's possible, right? See, I'm doing some calculation or data load. Okay, I'm just a business user. Okay, and the same another business user has the same access and he is trying to access that application. Okay, he also trying to do something, maybe the calculation, or he connected to the smart ring and trying to fetch the data for the same point of view. Okay, so in that time, uh, we got two options. One option is like we can provide read only access to that the business user, the second business user. So the another option we can inform that user. Okay, already we are doing that data load, so you have to wait for some time, or just will be uh, give the timeout message. Okay, because already the process is going on, so you have to wait for some time, and also just we send message timeout message. Okay, so you'll be giving wait signal. Okay, or timeout. So whenever you do something on the Essbase application, you will be that is two option. One, you can just give the read access, or you can ask the user to wait for some time. Okay, if the process is taking a longer time, just we will be giving the timeout signal to the user. So these are the two options. And okay, and there are two options in data load. Okay, so the first one is committed access, and another one is uncommitted access. So committed access by default, the database has enabled with uncommitted access. Okay, so this is the default one. And if you have enabled committed access, for example, you are doing the data load or you are performing calculation for a specific point of view. For example, that calculation impact 300 data blocks. Okay, so if you have enabled committed access, it will lock that entire 300 data blocks. Okay, so it will do the calculation on that 300 data blocks, and after that it will release that data block. Okay, so this is called committed access. Just it will lock the entire data block. Okay, and if it is uncommitted access, it won't lock that entire data block, but uh, for example, it will take one data block. Okay, it will do that process and proceed with the next block. Okay, so once that all the activity is completed, after that only it will commit that transaction. Okay, so that's the difference between committed access and uncommitted access. Okay, so in the committed access, we have one concept called pre-image. Okay, so in the committed access, during the data load, you cannot get the logs for the specific database because it's already locked by this process. Okay, so here we have one concept called pre-image. In the pre-image, you can provide read access to that specific any business users. Okay, if they are trying to write the data to that same data block, then they cannot do that. Okay, they have to wait. But if they want to read the any specific data block, then the pre-image can provide a read access to that business user. Okay, so here we got two options, right? Already we discussed, right? One is read access, another one is just they have to wait for that process to be completed. Okay, so this is we call pre-image. If we have enabled committed access, we can enable pre-image also. so that the user can read the data block, read the data or retrieve the data while they are doing some data load activities or the tasks. So in the uncommitted access, it's not possible. The user has to wait. Okay. So they cannot write any data during the data load or the calculations. Okay. So this is a difference between committed access and uncommitted access. Okay. So Essbase issues write logs for blocks that are created or updated or deleted. Okay. Read logs Pre-logs for blocks that should be accessed but not modified. If you are not going to modify or just you're going to retrieve the data from that text, then you have to provide a read log. Okay. If you're going to, if you want to update something, then it will provide a write log. And if you are doing that spreadsheet retrieve, it that read log will be issued. And if you are going to submit the data or you are performing calculation or the data load, or you're doing the restructuring, then it will provide a write log. So for the committed access, we got the pre-image uh, access. Okay. So the pre-image access provide the read-only access to the data block. Okay. Otherwise, the user has to wait if they want to write something. Okay. This is uncommitted access. So in the uncommitted access, it won't log the object. Okay. So it will commit that process once the entire transaction is completed. So just go to the test space properties. Here you'll be seeing that a tab called transactions. Okay. So and that under the transaction you can enable committed access or uncommitted access. And here you go general tab, dimensions, statistic, caches, and storage, current details, and modifications. Under the modifications, you can see the recent changes. Okay. You can see when was that data load happens, when that lost calculations happen. You can see that database modification details. We know that the data is stored in the disk space in the server. Okay. And the SSD uses like four kinds of data compression to compress that page files, and it will store it in that disk space. Okay. So we go four types. One is bitmap compression, run length encoding, is that library compression, and index value pair compression. Okay. If we don't use any of these four methods, it won't do any compression. We call it as no compression. Okay. Uh, for there will be lots of non-missing values. Okay. Then if you take one any of the data block, there will be non-missing data set. Okay. So, for example, uh, take this data block as an example. Here, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missing cells. Okay, only 3 cells has that data value. If we don't use that any comparison method, it will take 64 bytes to store this data block. Okay, but if you use a bitmap data comparison, it will ignore that missing records. Okay, it will allocate only one bytes for that non-missing records. So it will take only wait, it's 1 byte to store the entire data block. Okay, here it uses 64 bytes, but if you enable bitmap, it will take only 1 byte to store the entire data block. And this is for the relevant encoding. If there is any repeated members, for example, here that missing cells are repeated. Okay, so for all these missing cells, it will allocate only one. Here it's allocate 24 bytes. Okay, if you don't enable that run length encoding, by default it takes 54 bytes. If you have enabled that run length encoding, it takes 56 bytes to store the data block. Okay, so in the set library, we are just that it during the compression, it keeps that it create one data dictionary. Okay, for the data block. Okay, mostly we don't use that library and index value pair compression. Okay, so for this I don't have any examples. Okay, so that library means it will just create the data dictionary for the each data block. Okay, it is based on the index. Okay. Okay, we got two types of input output access. Okay, so one is buffered IO and another one is direct IO. Buffered IO mean it will create a buffer. Okay. Direct IO mean it won't create any buffer. Just we bypass that file system buffers and able to perform all that input output transactions. So by default, I think it's at direct IO. I'm not by. I think that buffered IO is a default setting. Okay, I'm not sure about. Yeah, yeah, that's it.